there's something very noble about it. And that's important to me because, my parents were both teachers. So for me, it's almost like if I have the chance, the opportunity to share, to be able to somehow, in fact, that's our advocacy, freedom. The Book Nook expresses that idea. Having that access itself is a gift that Book Nook can give, and I would love to be a part of that. Those columns were actually taken from the poles of the atrium because what I didn't want to create is another extra thing that will add busyness to the place because it's a mall. So what I just really wanted is to create something like an extension of the architecture. So that's why you notice the ceiling almost went down to the perforated screens, which are the scrolls of knowledge. If you notice, the light that was projected on the ceiling creates an architecture on the ceiling without touching the ceiling. It feels like it's a forest of knowledge, and how it's inspired by it in terms of its structure, in terms of its patterns and flow. The design is really Book Nook. It's original to itself, it's authentic to itself. It was designed because of its nature. That's why the design is exclusive. But the inclusivity is natural to it because it wants to welcome people. The soul of it wants to bring in people. And as that gesture reflects in the architecture, the person starts to feel that they are welcome, they are a part of it. So you can actually hang out. This time, I'd like architecture to design a culture. Because this time, I'm creating my architecture to uplift and better a Filipino. So that means if you don't have this culture of making things better this way, I will make my architecture make you respond to do something better. What really resonated the next generation? I think it was very important when Serene mentioned it to me. And having a venue for knowledge and it's accessible to everyone, that for me is right away an instant benefit. I imagined things like students and children who didn't have access to books, and suddenly you have this kind of a place. To me, it was noble, and that made me say yes to it, because in the end, it's like design contributing to that effort, making people come visually, because you can put books there, but sometimes you need joy and that spirit of wanting to be there, to be in the spot. So that come on is important. That's why we put art into it. We put design. The intriguing part is how people will react to it. Like, you see books that are free to access, books that are available for you anytime and whenever you feel like wanting to have that moment to read and to be able to, find something that interests you in that area. So the challenge was, how do you now create an environment for something that's very spontaneous? Because these are mall goers, these are people who are wandering around. There are people who are really planning to go because they're familiar with the place, it's already known to them. But the challenge is for people who are just going and visiting the malls, but then they have this idea, there is a place like that. There should be that welcoming feel that will make people at least be curious to approach it. We made it more like a place where you can hang out, like a waiting area. So it's very public. And then the rest follows in terms of finding a book. It's like sitting down in a lounge and finding a magazine. It's the challenge that makes it unique. I call it the passage of knowledge, because every time you pass through, it's always like saying, would you like to learn something today? Something that triggers an education, no? But very organic. I've always made it feel and design things where people will respond to it naturally, to the point that it's free will. It's the spontaneous experience also gives them the chance to respond as they want it to be. And that's the design. The design is about freedom, it's about fluidity, it's about permeability, it's about having that access. So what you see is a manifestation of nature, and what you see is a modern Filipino sensibility that responded to the light of the Philippines and also to the people, the mall goers of the Philippines. This will be the tree of knowledge. It feels like it's a forest of knowledge, because once you walk through it, it's like just passing through, and then you're always guided by two clearings. A clearing wherein you have the skylight. So it becomes really an experience, and again, in many ways you can experience nature. For me, if I can get just a little bit of the greatness of nature, I'm happy. If I can just be inspired, just a little bit of how beautiful nature is, I'm sure that creation will spell greatness too. And that's what I feel with Book Nook. Design can actually respond to the culture of the people to tell you how it can inspire, because I have created and I've coined what I call the culture of betterment. Is also our key to modernity, because it will always be a challenge of what's better. Because if you're nature, you're supposed to grow. You cannot be stagnant. A tree will never stay as a seed. A tree will grow. Don't let time pass by and you didn't have betterment. So betterment becomes organic to you once you're aware that you're supposed to grow. You are nature, and you have your season to bear your potential. You're not growing and not do anything. You're growing because you have to bear fruits. So the point of potential is, when do you bear fruits? When do you share? You don't eat your own fruit. You share your fruit. We're trying to bring with SM, with all your developments, is that let's create something authentic to each place, which is the micro identities. If you're talking of Book Nook, which I mentioned, a small pixel of the modern Philippines, it's just growing, like suddenly the mall becomes a pixel, but a bigger pixel. So imagine every mall of SM starts to present the micro identity of each place, wherein Book Nook can host literature of the place. And Book Nook is actually doing the software, because the malls are the hardwares. The software is the soul. So you're now touching the soul, which is good, because you are now completing the sensibility of what's modern Filipino. That's how powerful your platform is. You may see it as an 80 square meter, but actually, I feel that this is where the pulse starts. Because the rest can be buildings. The rest can be all establishments. The rest can be a convention hall. The rest can be a movie house, and so on. They're all commercial. But the one that thinks of something truthful, something wonderful, noble, it's Book Nook. So feel Book Nook. Feel the pulse.